Well, Dr. Zeno Leoni is a military expert at the Defence Studies Department of King's College, London. Dr. Leoni, welcome. Let's take stock on this 10th day of the invasion of Ukraine. Where are we from Ukraine's position and from Russia's too?
I think the campaign is going as Russia planned it. Of course, there are successes in the south. The operations are going slower in the Kiev area, towards Kiev, but this was to be expected. We are only 8 days into the conflict, and let's not forget it took the United States more than a month to take Iraq, for example. So the Russians are trying to encircle the Ukrainians, cutting lines of communication, trying to isolate them. The Ukrainians are trying to resist on the ground, but they are struggling because they lack substantial air power, enough air power to deal with the Russians. And this means that the Russians, those long convoys of Russian troops and tanks that we have seen, they have all the time to manage the speed, the tempo of the operation because they are not threatened from the air.
Ukraine's President Zelensky has criticised NATO for refusing to implement a no-fly zone across Ukraine. Is this now as far as NATO will go in its help?
I think so, because implementing a no-fly zone, it will be very risky because Ukraine is not a member of NATO, and so Article 5 cannot be triggered. Why am I talking about Article 5 here? A no-fly zone tends to be a defensive military tactic because it's about patrolling. It would be about patrolling the airspace of Ukraine. But obviously, the moment in which a Russian aircraft enters the airspace of Ukraine, it will have to be destroyed, and that would start a major conflict, which will lead NATO into a direct confrontation with Russia. And so for the time being, I think NATO will continue to support Ukraine in a sub-threshold manner, providing aids, money, military assets, but I don't see how it could be escalated beyond that kind of support.
What are the next steps in this war for both sides and the civilians caught up in the middle of it?
I think so. It is likely that Russia will defeat the Ukrainian forces, the regular Ukrainian forces, and achieve a military victory. But that's not the end of the game. What is not clear to me is how the Russians are going to achieve a political victory. And so what comes after the military conflict? And what is what is a political victory looking like in this context? What is Putin's end state? Even after capturing Kiev. I think this is a major dilemma for Russia because the more violent is the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the more difficult it will be a transition to a post-conflict scenario. And the risk for Russia here is that Ukraine is going to become a new Chechnya. So I think on the one hand, Putin has the upper hand militarily, but politically the match is completely open, and we will have to see how it evolves over the next few weeks, and especially after Russian troops will have tried to enter Kiev.
Dr. Leoni, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Dr. Zeno Leoni from the Defence Studies Department of King's College in London.